Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a different kind of mask. I discovered a new way of making masks that is a lot easier and more comfortable to wear on your face. If you're interested in my other pattern, it is a pleated one that has a nose wire and a pocket for a filter. I'll leave a link to that video in the description. But this video is how to make a totally different kind of mask, which is this kind of mask. The one that goes, you know, over your nose and covers like your entire face. There's no nose wire, there's no filter pocket. There is 2 layers of cotton and the elastic is still interchangeable. It's not sewed in, so you can change it or tighten it or do anything at any time. Disclaimer for everything, this is not a medical grade mask. It is not a magical anything that's going to keep every single germ out of your mouth. It's mostly just to keep in your germs and not get them on other people, which is why I still think that people should be wearing masks. We're still in a pandemic. This is a tutorial, but if for some reason you cannot make the mask yourself, you don't know how to sew, don't have a sewing machine, whatever, I will have them up on my Etsy, which is always linked in my description. I'll have these types of masks. I will have the other type of mask that I make and plenty of other things up on my Etsy at any given time. I am still donating a mask for every mask sold. You know, fabric is not cheap and I'm not rich, so in order to continue to donate to people that need masks, I do need to sell masks, you know, to cover the costs. That being said though, let's jump into it. To make the mask, what you're going to need is 2 types of fabric. You can use 1 if you don't have 2, but generally 2 different patterns. You're gonna need some scissors. You're gonna need some clips or pins. You're going to need, obviously, a sewing machine and thread. If you don't have a sewing machine, you can sew it by hand. It's just gonna take a lot longer. You're gonna need some elastic. I'm using a Cricut to cut out my pattern. So because I'm using my Cricut, when I'm cutting my fabric preemptively, I'm cutting it into 12-inch by 7-inch pieces just because that is what fits for the pattern on my little Cricut mat. And in order to use the Cricut to cut, you have to cut the fabric to fit on the mat in order to use the mat in the machine to cut the pattern. If you don't own a Cricut, you can do it by hand. I will have a link to the pattern that you can print in the description of the video, that way that you can just copy it. But in general, this crescent type shape is what it's going to look like. I just use the Cricut because it's more precise. But that's why I'm cutting it into rectangles before I'm cutting it into the actual shape. These are the 2 pieces that we just cut out. It's so important that they are facing the opposite direction. If you had them both facing this direction with the nice pattern on both sides, as if the pattern on this were facing upwards, your mask would not look right. It needs to be opposites like this, so that when we fold it over, we can put them on top of each other so that the nice pattern is on the inside. You can pin it if you want, you can clip it, you can do whatever. I'm not going to, but we're just going to sew along this curved edge and this curved edge only. Because we went to the presser foot for the seam allowance, there's excess fabric around this curve, and if we leave it, it's gonna look bulky in the mask, so we have to cut that off. It's as close as you can possibly get it without actually cutting the thread. So now this is the back fabric, and you can see the ugly sides, and the nice pretty side is on the inside, and we're gonna do the exact same thing that we just did and cut off all of this extra. So now that we have both of these pieces that are literally the exact same size, you're gonna open up each piece so that you can see the inside and face the insides, the nice pretty sides, to each other and lay them on top of each other. You'll want to make sure like the ends line up. That's the easiest way to do it. 2 nice patterns are touching each other, and you line up the ends and then clip the ends for good measure. And then you're gonna want to line up everything along the top, that curve right there, until it lines up on the other end as well. Flip that one for good measure. The hardest part about this mask is sewing this top curve, but as long as you have it sitting properly, it should not be that difficult for you. I do seam allowance to the edge of the presser foot here. Make sure you backstitch the first, and then just take it slow and sew as close as you can around the curve, following it naturally. As you can see, it is sewn nicely around the curve there. And then you just do the exact same thing and sew along the bottom like you did the top. Notice that we did not sew the sides that have the clips on them. Those need to be left open so we can flip it inside out. Now that you have this all sewn, it should look like this right now, with just the top edge sewn down, sides are both open, and the bottom edge sewn down, and it should be inside out, because now we're gonna take it and flip it right side out. Pull in all of the edges that you can. Make sure it is as flipped out as it can possibly be. And then you have the shape of your mask. All we have to do is create the channels on the sides for the elastic. How we're gonna do that is just make sure that this is opened up, take it, fold it back once, and then fold it back on itself again. That way you have this channel here, and then you just sew a straight line here. Go the absolute closest that you can go to this edge here, and try and keep it as straight as possible. That's one side done. As you can see, it created a channel that you can push it down, see through it, and that's what the elastic is gonna eventually go through. So we're just gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. I'll show you what it looks like from the back. Just make sure it is as unfolded as it can possibly be. We're going to flip it towards the back once and then flip that over itself again. And it should only be about that thick. And then we just stitch it again as close as we possibly can to that side. And now the body of your mask is done. The most simple way to make a mask, in my opinion. And all we have to do is put the elastic through these sides. Here's my elastic. This is a 1/4 inch elastic. I don't recommend this. I recommend 1/8 of an inch elastic if you can find it. So as a starting point for elastic, we're just gonna cut 2 10-inch strips. The length of the elastic that you need is gonna depend on how far back your ears are, which is different for everybody, obviously. But this, because elastic is stretchy, has been a pretty good in-between number that fits most people. So we have our 2 pieces of elastic. They look really long, but that's because we're looping them. So for this part, you're gonna need a safety pin and a crochet hook to make it the absolute easiest you can make it. It's possible to do without either, but this is the easiest way I've found. Just hook the safety pin through the elastic, close it, feed your crochet hook through one side of the mask, and hook your safety pin onto the crochet hook, and then just pull your crochet hook through, and it should pull the elastic through with it. And then all you do is make sure that these are flat and not twisted, because they're annoying if they're twisted. But all you do is either sew them closed or just tie them in a knot. I usually just tie them in a knot. Elastic, when tied in a knot, is really hard to untie, so it should not fall apart. And then just pull the knot through so that it's hidden within the channel and you don't see it. And then you have elastic on your mask. I'm gonna do the exact same thing to the other side. And now your mask is finished. Probably the simplest mask that I have found with sewing involved. The mask that we just made together looks like this. This is the pattern fabric that I used. We literally just made this one. Fits on my face, up above my nose, and makes me feel safe. That's all I have. I hope you liked the mask tutorial. I hope you learned something. I hope you can now make your own super cute mask, or you can contact me and have me make a super cute mask for you. See you guys later. Bye. Do I still do that? I don't know. It's been a while since I filmed a video.